Welcome to The Explainer. Okay, so today we're diving into something that is honestly a massive paradigm shift happening right now in global finance, and that is bringing traditional capital markets on-chain. We're talking about taking literally trillions of dollars in real-world assets, think real estate, private equity, government bonds, and putting them directly on the blockchain. But as you might guess, there is a massive roadblock. Traditional finance demands incredibly strict legal compliance, while public blockchains are by design inherently anonymous. So today we are going to unpack exactly how new technology is solving this paradox and essentially unlocking the future of finance. Let's get into it. Here is a quick look at our agenda for today. We're going to start with the permission revolution, then we'll unpack the transfer logic, walk through a really cool case study with a London tower, and finally wrap up with the golden key.
Section 1. The permissioned revolution, moving from blind trust to programmable compliance.
To really understand where we're going, we first have to look at the stark contrast between the old way of doing things and the new way. For years, the blockchain ran primarily on the ERC-20 standard. Now, that's a token-centric model. Anyone can hold it, anyone can transfer it. It's totally pseudonymous and assumes a completely trustless environment. And look, that's great for meme coins or basic utility tokens. But pseudonymity is a huge liability for regulated assets. You literally cannot legally sell shares of a company or piece of a real estate fund to an anonymous, unknown wallet. Enter the identity-centric model, specifically the ERC-3643 standard. With this, only verified users can hold the token. The compliance logic is actually embedded directly into the asset itself, enforcing trust and eligibility at the protocol level. It's a total game changer. There is a quote that really hits the nail on the head here. In the world of RWAs, permissionless is a liability. On-chain identity is the mechanism that allows public blockchains to behave like private, compliant financial networks. Think about that. To unlock those trillions in real-world assets, or RWAs, we absolutely have to bridge the gap between anonymous wallet addresses and verified real-world legal entities. We basically need the speed and efficiency of a public blockchain, but with the security and strict compliance of a private banking network. Section 2. The transfer logic. The digital bouncer at the door. All right, let's zoom in on the micromechanics. How does this actually work? Well, the crucial piece of the puzzle is the Identity Registry. You can think of this as a central, highly secure phone book. It's a smart contract that maps a standard, random-looking wallet address to a verified identity contract, which is often called an on-chain ID. Now, a quick caveat here, because people always ask. This does not mean your actual passport photo or home address is sitting publicly on the blockchain. Not at all. Instead, it holds cryptographic claims or attestations from trusted issuers, like a major KYC provider. These basically act as digital stamps, proving you are who you say you are, using cryptographic hashes to keep your actual sensitive personal data completely off-chain. But this brings us to the core mechanical question of this whole explainer. If these tokens are floating around on a public ledger, what actually stops an illegal transfer from happening? How does a piece of code literally ask for ID before it moves from one person to another? Well, it happens through a really clever mechanism called a before-token transfer hook. I like to think of it as a massive, uncompromising digital nightclub bouncer standing at the door of every single transaction. Here's how it plays out. Step 1. A token transfer is initiated. But before that token actually moves an inch, Step 2 kicks in. The smart contract automatically checks the sender's status in the Identity Registry. Then, Step 3, it checks the receiver's identity registry. The bouncer is essentially looking at both parties and asking, are these guys cool? Have they passed KYC? Are they outside restricted jurisdictions? If the registry replies yes to all those legal compliance rules, then Step 4 happens. The transfer executes smoothly. But if even one single rule is broken, the transfer is instantly blocked. It is physically, algorithmically impossible to send the token to an unverified wallet. Section 3. Case Study. London Tower. Applying ERC-3643 to a real-world scenario. Let's ground all this abstract tech in a concrete, super high-stakes scenario. $500 million. Let's imagine a special purpose vehicle, an SPV over in Luxembourg, is tokenizing a $500 million London office tower. Naturally, they want to attract a massive global pool of investors. But they have to do it perfectly legally, adhering to strict investor caps, anti-money laundering laws, you name it. If they try to do this using a standard ERC-20 token, it's a complete regulatory disaster waiting to happen. So they use the ERC-3643 standard. Let's walk through what the investor's journey actually looks like here.
On day one, an investor goes through a standard KYC check with a verified provider, let's say a company like Synapse. Day two, that provider assigns a cryptographic claim and attaches it directly to the investor's on-chain ID. By day three, the central identity registry officially records that specific wallet address as verified and maybe even marks them as a legally accredited investor. Now, fast forward to day four. The investor goes to buy 10 tokens of that London office tower. The ERC-3643 contract intercepts the transaction mid-flight and asks the registry for clearance. The registry checks its phone book and replies, "Yep, this address is verified and accredited." Boom. Day five, transfer success. The digital bouncer did its job and let them right in.
Now, what you should really take away from this is the absolutely massive business benefit for the investor, and that is reusable KYC. Verify once, use everywhere. In traditional finance, if that exact same investor wanted to buy into a different fund the very next week, they'd have to scan their passport, send in utility bills, and wait days, all over again. It's a nightmare. But with their on-chain ID, that onboarding friction is just totally destroyed. Their on-chain identity can now interact with any other whitelisted DeFi protocol or tokenized asset instantly. It's so much more efficient.
Section 4. The Golden Key, Unlocking Institutional DeFi.
So let's zoom back out to the macro level to see how all these pieces build into a complete framework across 4 core pillars. On the business side, this whole system acts as a trust engine. It enables true 24/7 peer-to-peer trading because compliance is completely automated. No back-office compliance officer is needing to manually approve trades on a Tuesday morning. On the technology side, the registry architecture and that ERC-3643 identity hook make the whole thing function flawlessly. For the legal pillar, because we are using cryptographic hashes instead of raw data, personally identifiable information stays totally off-chain, ensuring complete GDPR compliance. And finally, security. By tying wallets to real-world identities, we gain Sybil resistance, meaning one person can't just spin up 1,000 fake wallets to bypass investment caps. Plus, we actually gain account recovery. Think about that. If you lose your private keys, the issuer can literally rebind your verified identity to a brand new wallet, recovering your assets. That's huge for institutional players. Now, to be totally fair and impartial, it is vital to look at the trade-offs and limitations here. First up is centralized issuance. Traditional finance absolutely requires what's called sovereign recourse, meaning agents or issuers must have the technical power to freeze assets or force transfers if they are mandated by a court of law. And you can probably guess, this leads directly to our second point, crypto purist backlash. Having an administrative override baked into a token goes directly against the original Web3 ethos of total, unstoppable decentralization. Finally, we have fragmented standards. While ERC-3643 is definitely a leading standard, there are others out there like ERC-1400, and seamless interoperability between different identity registries across various blockchains is still very much a work in progress. But look, even with those hurdles, the trajectory here is pretty undeniable. The technology now exists to marry the incredible speed and efficiency of the blockchain with the strict legal boundaries of traditional finance. So I'll leave you with this provocative thought. How fast is global finance going to evolve now that regulatory compliance is completely automated on-chain? There's a tidal wave of institutional capital standing right at the door, and on-chain identity is the golden key that just unlocked it. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep learning.